Hello everyone, got 10 best redneck jokes for you today. So a redneck woman goes into a store to get a new washing machine. The salesman, eager to score some commission, snaps into his pitch with a broad smile. We can load it up and send it over to your house today, and you won't pay anything for 6 months. The woman suddenly gets angry and says, "Who the hell told you about me?" So two rednecks from Alabama were out hunting in the forest one day and decided to split up to increase their chances of catching something. The first redneck told the second, "If you get lost, just fire 3 shots into the air every hour. That way, I'll be able to find you by following the sound." A few hours passed and the second redneck found himself completely lost. He remembered the instructions his friend had given him. So he fired 3 shots into the air and waited an hour before doing it again. He kept this up until he had run out of ammo. The next morning, the first redneck was able to locate the second redneck with the help of some forest rangers. He asked the second redneck if he had followed his instructions, to which the second redneck replied, "Yes, I fired 3 shots into the air every hour like you told me to, until I ran out of arrows." So two Virginia rednecks go on a fishing trip. They rent all the equipment, the reels, the rods, the wading suits, the rowboat, the car, and even a cabin in the woods. I mean, they spend a fortune. The first day they go fishing, but they don't catch anything. The same thing happens on the second day, and on the third day. It goes on like this until finally, on the last day of their vacation, one of the men catches a fish. As they're driving home, they are really depressed. One guy turns to the other and says, "Do you realize that this one lousy fish we caught cost us $1,500? The other guy says, "Wow, then it's a good thing we didn't catch any more." So recently, a routine police patrol was parked outside a bar in the outback. After last call, the officer noticed a redneck leaving the bar so apparently intoxicated that he could barely walk. The redneck stumbled around the parking lot for a few minutes, with the officer quietly observing. After what seemed an eternity, in which he tried his keys on 5 different vehicles, the man managed to find his car and fall into it. He sat there for a few minutes as a number of other patrons left the bar and drove off. Finally, he started the car, switched the wipers on and off. It was a fine, dry summer night. Flicked the blinkers on and off a couple of times, honked the horn, and then switched on the lights. He moved the vehicle forward a few inches, reversed a little, and then remained still for a few more minutes as some more of the other patrons' vehicles left. At last, when his was the only car left in the parking lot, he pulled out and drove slowly down the road. The police officer, having waited patiently all this time, now started up his patrol car, put on the flashing lights, and promptly pulled the man over and administered a breathalyzer test. To his amazement, the breathalyzer indicated no evidence that the man had consumed any alcohol at all. Dumbfounded, the officer said, "I'll have to ask you to accompany me to the police station. This breathalyzer equipment must be broken." "I doubt it," said the truly proud redneck. "Tonight I'm the designated decoy." So 3 rednecks, Jimmy, Billy, and Bob, were working on a cell phone tower. As they were climbing down, Jimmy slipped and fell to his death. The ambulance came to take the body away, and Billy said to Bob, "Someone should go tell Jimmy's wife about what happened." Bob offered to do it, saying that he was good at handling sensitive situations. 2 hours later, Bob returned with a case of beer. Billy asked him where he got it, and Bob replied, "Jimmy's wife gave it to me." Billy was shocked and said, "You told the woman that her husband was dead and she gave you beer." Bob explained, "Well, not exactly. When I went to her house, I said, 'You must be Jimmy's widow.' She said, "No, I'm not a widow." So I said, "I'll bet you a case of beer that you are." And she gave me the beer. So a redneck couple just got married. It's the night of the honeymoon, and the guy's parents come home to find their son sitting there on the couch. "Son, what are you doing here? Tonight's your honeymoon. You should be with your bride." The son looks up forlornly, with tears in his eyes. "Well, Dad, I found out she's a virgin." The father shrugs and says, "So, come on, Dad. If she ain't good enough for her own family, she damn sure ain't good enough for ours." So a redneck is hiking through the woods with two Native Americans. They happen across a cave. One of the natives yells, "Whoop, whoop." Another voice calls from the cave, "Whoop, whoop." The man strips naked and runs into the cave. What was all that about? The redneck asks. The other native explains, "It's our mating ritual. A woman who is ready to mate will wait in a cave. If we come across a cave, we yell inside. If we hear a call back, we know we can go in and mate with her." A few minutes later, they come across another cave, and a native yells, "Whoop, whoop." Shortly after, he hears a call back, "Whoop, whoop." Without hesitation, the second native took off his clothes and ran inside. All alone, the redneck continued on his way. Eventually, he came across a very large cave. Thinking there must be a large, beautiful woman in here, he thought he'd try the call and yelled, "Whoop, whoop." Sure enough, he heard an even louder call from the cave. "Wow, she's got a voice," said the redneck. "Sounds like she's larger and beautifuler than I imagined." So he strips off his clothes and runs into the cave. The next day, the headline in the newspaper read, "Naked Redneck Run Over by a Train." So two rednecks, Dale and Billy Ray, were walking downtown, window shopping, and suddenly they see a sign on a store which reads, "Suits $10 each, shirts $2 each, trousers $3 each." Dale says to his buddy, Billy Ray, "Look there. We could buy a whole gob of these, take them back to Arkansas, sell them, and make a fortune. Just let me do the talking, 'cause if they hear your accent, they might think we're ignorant and not want to sell that stuff to us. I'll talk in a slow Texas drawl, so they don't know we are from Arkansas." They enter the store. Then, with his best fake Texas drawl, Dale says, "I'll take 50 of them suits at $10, 100 of them shirts at $2, and 50 pairs of them trousers at $3. I'll back up my pickup." And the owner of the shop interrupts saying, "You all are from Arkansas, ain't you?" "Well, yeah," says a surprised Dale. "How come y'all know that?" The shop owner replies, "Because this is a dry cleaner's." So a redneck's father passed away in his sleep. So in the morning, he calls 911 to come pick up the body. The 911 operator told him that she would send someone out right away. "Where do you live?" asked the operator. He replied, "At the end of Eucalyptus Drive." The operator asked, "Can you spell that for me?" There was a long pause, and finally he said, "How about if I drag him over to Oak Street and you pick him up there?" So two rednecks flew to Canada on a hunting trip. They chartered a small plane to take them into the Rockies for a week hunting moose. They managed to bag 6. As they were loading the plane to return, the pilot said the plane could take only 4 moose. The 2 guys objected strongly. "Last year we shot 6. The pilot let us take them all, and he had the same plane as yours." Reluctantly, the pilot gave in, and all 6 were loaded. The plane took off. However, while attempting to cross some mountains, even on full power, the little plane couldn't handle the load and went down. Somehow, surrounded by the moose bodies, only the 2 rednecks survived the crash. After climbing out of the wreckage, Billy Ray asked Billy Bob, "Any idea where we are?" Billy Bob replied, "I think we're pretty close to where we crashed last year."